Kimberly Loomis, ladies and gentlemen, is an absolute rock star. She's humble but leveled up, cool but your best friend. And did I mention she's my curly haired sister from another mister? I mean, she's embraced her curls, unlike me. Like, I blow dry it all the time. And she has literally embraced everything you can possibly want to do in the professional beauty industry. She's the founder of Free Your Mind Education, an advocate and representative for Beauty Changes Lives, and she is a bomb educator. I just love her, and I know you will too. Check her out in this week's episode. Watch the video on YouTube, subscribe and listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And of course, tell us, Kim and myself, what you think of this episode. Let's go. Are you a beauty or barber pro looking for that push to do that thing you've always wanted to do, whether it's in or out of the salon, spa, or shop? Are you tired of not feeling good enough, smart enough, skilled enough? Are you tired of not getting a handle on your mental health, boundaries, and insecurities? I'm Christine Sherwood, the BeautyPro coach, an internationally certified coach, a salon and spa owner, and your personal Jiminy Cricket. I use my own experiences, good and bad, as a salon owner to help you be more self-aware, authentic, and forward-thinking in your approach to life, in and out of the salon. It's time to reach your version of success with the Beauty Pro Coach podcast. Hey, Kim, how are you?
Hi, Lovey. How are you today?
Good. So, for the listeners or the watchers on YouTube who have never met Kim, right? I can call you Kim, or is it
Yeah.
Kimberly?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Girl, Kim's
I
fine.
met I met her after a long time in Tennessee of all places, and it was very exciting, and I'm so happy that I did.
It was so great to finally just meet you in person because we like hype each other up all day long on social media. And I just love the fact that we actually got to connect and like walking down the hallway and I like looked over and you were sitting on the bench and I was like, oh, my gosh, like finally was able to meet each other.
It's so true, and I was like, "Your shoes! I love your shoes!"
We're here.
So, anyway, alright, so just tell everybody a little bit about who you are. I know that you are the founder of Free Your Mind Education, which I love and I share with my staff all the time. But yeah, tell everybody all your things.
All my things. So, my name is Kimberly Loomis. I own an independent salon in Columbus, Ohio called Urban Posh Salon, which is a cruelty free, vegan, gender neutral, sustainable, carbon neutral salon. All the great things, right? And then I'm also the founder. So, the brains and the beauty behind Free Your Mind Education. I've been licensed for 20 years, independent for 15 of those, and I've been able to do some really like awesome rad stuff in our industry. I've done everything from working on magazines to photo shoots to a lead stylist for New York Fashion Week. I'm a mentor for Beauty Changes Lives, which is an amazing company. Um, I sat on the advisory board from the same beauty school that I graduated from 20 years ago, and I
Love
help
that.
form and write curriculum for beauty school students, and help mentor kids up there. I've been a Face of Sola Salons, top 100 most influential stylist from Modern Salon. I'm the director of education for Sola Salons Columbus North. So a little bit of everything in between.
Everything. I love that, especially for the beauty and barber pros who are like, "Oh, I'm so bored.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to do." Babes, did you just hear this list?
right.
There are so many things you can do, like,
So
go
many
take a
avenues
break.
and journeys in this industry that like it's all waiting for you. You just gotta go towards it.
Totally. Okay, so then what do you feel is, like, the secret to success, to getting all these things done to your definition of success? What is it for you?
I think my definition of success, to me, what success is being able to help people without expecting anything back. So, like, being able to, like, go and mentor beauty school students or, like, go volunteer somehow in the industry, in any way, shape, or form, and not need anything back from it just because you really do want to, you know, further this industry. I really feel like older stylists, more aged stylists and beauty professionals can learn a lot from new stylists and beauty pros coming in and vice versa, right? I think as long as we keep sharing information with each other, this industry can just continuously grow into such a remarkable profession. So I find
Awesome.
that being successful, just being able to give back and not worry about anything.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like a huge part of that is to love what you do.
Yeah.
Because if you don't love it, if you don't get excited to like go to work, like I know we all get exhausted and we're all like, oh, I gotta get up. But if you're not like pumped up drinking your coffee as you drive to work, like maybe you don't love it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I am grateful. Like I honestly, and I tell my clients this all the time. I'm like, even on my worst day, no matter how tired I am, I like legitimately love what I do.
Hmm.
And I love this industry. And that's why like I never know what I'm doing next, right? Until
Mm.
something pops up and I was like, "Oh my god, I want to try that," or "Oh my gosh, I want to
Yeah.
do this," or I want to because I feel like I learn so much from everyone else. I worked as an international educator and I traveled all over the world, and I was able to learn from every salon that I went into, every stylist that I taught for the longest time. I was just learning so much from them that has kind of formed who I am today, and I get to share that with other people, right? Like people's journeys are constantly crossing into each other. And yeah, I really honestly say, if you can't tell, I love this industry.
No, and I love that. And even I sat in on your class when we were in the Tennessee show, and I got to meet your husband too. And you just said, like, I traveled all the world and I did all these things and I just loved it. Do you feel like you would still be doing that or have done that if you didn't have your husband's support? Because I feel like he supports you
Ooh.
like big time.
He is, I'm so blessed. He is my biggest fan and my biggest cheerleader. And no matter what avenue, I'm like, babe, listen. So I heard about this thing. I'm gonna do it. We're doing it. And he's like, yeah, you are. You're gonna do it.
Oh, that's so
He's like, I'm
cute.
gonna be there holding the camera and cheering you on. And like, he's just so great. I don't know. Like that's a weird, hard question because I think I have this like passion in me, right? Because I
Mm.
did hair before I met him.
Mhm.
But I don't think that I would be where I am today without his support in certain avenues and certain ways of him believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. I think that was a big thing of like,
Yeah.
even on my hard days where I'm like, honey, I don't know if I can do this. And he's like, you can, you've got this. And so I
Oh,
think, yeah, I think it formed my journey where I am with him
that's
being in my life. I'm
that
very grateful.
that's so beautiful. Yeah, he was, like, so cool. He's like, "No, I got it. I got it. Look, 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 look," and he, like, doing it, and I'm sitting there like, "Oh my god, they're such a team. This is so
Yeah.
great." Anyway, I just had
It's
to
crazy because that was his first like actual show going with
Mm.
me to behind the scenes. So like he's normally like the in between, but him like being in the classroom with me, like that was his first time like actually in the classroom with me. So
So
that was really cool.
he got to, like, see you do your thing, like
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
cute.
so that was like a really cool experience because I've traveled everywhere. So he's a high school special needs teacher. So through the school year, he is obviously at school. So with him being on summer break, he got to come with me for the first time. And I've been educating for like 11, 12, 13 years now. So like it's really cool
Wow,
for him
that's
to be
cool.
there.
I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
so All right, so let's rewind. So you were a lead in New York Fashion Week. I don't know
Mhm.
about you, but when we went to New York Fashion Week, that was like a life-changing thing for me.
Mhm.
Um, and so for you to be a lead at one of the designers, what was the designer, if you remember, and how was that experience for you?
Yeah, so I've been able to do New York Fashion Week a few times actually.
Mhm.
And then I've done Columbus Fashion Week in Columbus, Ohio, and some other fashion shows. So I kind of tiptoed in the water and like built up to kind of Fashion Week.
Mm.
Um, my first time I was reached out by a lovely lady called Merlandy, and she is heaven sent. She has done hair on Netflix. She actually was just part of the what was it? The Black Family Mafia TV show.
Oh,
She
I
did
watched that.
hair on set for that. Like, she's just an amazing, incredible human. I'm so great to know her. And um, then I went back and became a lead for our team. And it was great. It was amazing to just kind of be there. I ended up going in the day early. It was last season for Alice and Olivia. So we were in the financial districts and we got to go to their headquarters, and I worked with like the head team lead, Matthew Curtis. He flew in from London. He's a celebrity stylist, and I worked with him to help like design the looks for the models for the show the next day, and just try to help prepare our team right for
Mhm,
success backstage because
mhm.
there's so many people. And we ended up doing not so much of a runway, but we did one of the showcases, which is, if you've ever been able to do a showcase, it's fashion week, but for like 4 hours. So the models live in these sets. So we were in the financial district on one of the oldest banks, is where they had it. And there was, I think, 8 different marvelous, breathtaking sets. And the models
Wow.
lived in the sets and they were all different. And we ended up having, I think, like 45, 48 models.
Oh, Lord
So
have
you had
mercy.
a hair team backstage. You had Two Face was the makeup team, and then we had some other like the nail team back there. And so you have 5 plus hundred people in the basement of this old bank in the financial district in New York City, trying to get everyone ready. And then I was part of the last looks. So that's one of my favorite things, is to be on that team of, once all the models are done and prepped and ready, there's a photo shoot going on, or they're lined up depending on the type of show you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, and we're the ones that like are the last people to touch the models before they hit the runway. And like,
I love that.
that's part of my favorite part
Mm.
of it, I guess, because like you get to do that final polish, right? You get to set them
Mhm.
up for success in their looks in any way, shape, or form. So um yeah, it's been great. It's been
I
all the good
love
things.
that. I love that. Okay, so these are all the successes and all, like, the fun stuff that everybody, like, wants. But let's talk about some of, like, the failures and the struggles. Like, what did you overcome to get here now?
Whew, a lot,
Girl, get
right?
deep.
Like
Get
a
deep. Let's
lot of
go.
no's, a lot of no's, a lot of no's, a lot of maybe, a lot of not right now. My main one I would have to say is, I got out of beauty school, and I think like everyone, we go to a show,
Yeah.
back in my day, right? We like, the shows were like these huge things, and like that's how we got continuing education. And I remember, 20 years ago coming out of beauty school, and I went to the show and I was like, I'm going to be a platform artist. Like that's what I
Mm,
want to be in life, right? And
mhm.
so I kind of started at some salons, and a couple of years into my career, I was like, okay, I really, really, really want to become an educator, right? Like, started at the bottom, now we're here kind of thing. And I worked for this corporate chain salon, and it just was like, didn't work out. Long story short, just didn't really work out. I was there for 5 years. I managed, and it was like, oh, well, you have to be trained in this class, or you got to be trained in this. And I did that for 2 years of them just kind of like, you know, like molasses. And I got out, and I was a huge fan of this very popular brand, and they reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to come to our headquarters and like train to be an educator for us?" And I was like, "Oh my God, my heart, my dreams coming true. I'm doing this."
Yes.
I fly out to Santa Monica. I spend over a week there. and this very intensive, crazy training at their headquarters. And I was like living my best life, girl. I was
Yeah.
thriving. I come home and they were like, listen, you passed. We love you, whatever. However, you have to change everything about you. And I was
What?
like, "What?" Yeah, and I was kind of, like, side-struck a little because they were like, "You're too humble. Like, when you walk in a room, like, people need to know who you are, and so you need to have a little bit more ego, and, you have to wear all black, and you need to be wearing more makeup, and you need to, like, all this stuff." And so I kinda sat back and I was like, "Do I want to change everything I am and everything I stand for my dream job, for this huge company?" And, like, I really kind of sat back and I was like, "Do I change who I am to get my dream job, or do I walk away from my dream that I've had for, at this point, 8 plus years easily?" And so I left. I just was like, "It's not for me. I'm gonna stay true to myself because in the end of the day, that's all we have is who
Mhm.
we are authentically, and
Mhm.
I can't march to this authentic beat if I change who I am for the first person that tries to, push against
Right.
it." And
Right.
so I walked away from it. I walked away from my dream job, and it was a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And, in less than 6 months, this other company reached out to me and were like, "Oh my god, we love you. We want you to work with us." And I was like, "Nah, babe. I've tried this like 2 different times and I don't think it's for me." They're like, "No, no, no, you're gonna do it." And long story short, the universe meant for me to be there, and I became an
Wow.
educator, and I've loved it ever since. And that's where my passion and my heart is, when, like, I was like, "Ooh, like, I want to help people and I want to just share my knowledge with people and learn from other people in the process." And so that would have been, I almost gave up quite a few times in that journey. And even through other journeys of educating, there's multiple times where I just wanted to give up because it was the easiest thing to do at the
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Nope, this is my passion." Like, younger Kimberly would be so mad if I just walked away for the first hard hurdle that I hit. And
Yeah.
you don't get to the top. You don't get to the top just giving up on everything. So, my thing is, if you believe in it enough and you really do love and cherish it enough, it's worth all the hard work. So,
Okay, and just so okay, because we talked about relationships, we talked about your hubby, we talked about your dream, and I know there's quite a few beauty and barber pros that their version of success is maybe not a platform artist, but maybe it's just they just wanna get married and, like, be a wife, and, like, do
mhm,
hair and, like, have the family thing. This everything that Kim is saying applies. That is
yeah,
your dream, so don't stop. Like, don't give up on yourself, don't change yourself
mm-mm,
just for a relationship, just for something else, like, you gotta hold on to that, you know? So thank you for sharing that because 'cause I'm listening to
yeah,
you and I'm like, "Oh my god, these girls at my salon need to listen to this." Like, I'm just
yeah.
so excited. So now, what's a struggle you're going through right now?
Oof. Um, Time management, to
Mm.
be 100% transparent. So last year I ended up doing 14 trips last year and worked full time behind the chair.
Mhm.
So I had a lot of trips. However, I had a lot of amazing opportunities. I worked with Modern Salon a lot. I
Yeah.
was some keynote speakers throughout the year. And I came into this year and I knew that I wanted to be more intentional with my time.
Yeah.
And I kind of spoke about that in one of my classes of, we only have so much time in the day. And let's not waste it, and let's use it, productively. And that has been a hard thing to me, of stepping back, because I know who I am. I'm a very busy person and I have to be doing
Mhm.
so many things at the same time, because that's just how my brain works to feel productive. um and just trying to be intentional with how I spend my time and what I spend my time doing from here on out.
Mhm.
Because I'm always going to be a busy person. Um, but just spending it in the right ways, if that makes sense. Like, what
Yeah.
can I do to make the most impact with what time I have?
Yes. Oh, I like that. Yes.
Yeah,
So, like, would you say, like, last year you were like all over the place,
all over.
but do you feel like that was necessary? Like, you had to do that chaos so that you can be like, okay, I did it. I left my mark. Now I'm going to chill.
100%. I like
Okay.
it's a lot of work to be able to move up, and I don't mean that as like whatever
Hmm.
level you look at, but to reach your goals, that's better wording. To
Okay.
reach your goals, you have to put in the work when everyone else is sleeping. And I love that saying so
Hmm.
much.
Hmm. Me
Of
too.
there's plenty of times where even for the last show we did, like um I was staying up and making sure I study and going over my curriculum and rewriting my curriculum to make sure it was the best that I could put out there, because if it's not 100%, I'm not going to put it out there. And if it's not beneficial, right? Like so many people talk, I feel like that they're not really saying anything that's beneficial or putting forth any kind of knowledge to conversation. And is it something I wanna hear? Is it something that can benefit me if younger Kimberly heard it, or if another beauty pro heard it, or no matter how many different times you reiterate something, like, it's still very valuable information, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah, all the
That's
things.
such a good point. Like, I'm just, yeah, like we have to, wherever you are in your industry, you have to constantly be examining yourself. Like, is this for me? Am I saying
Mhm.
this right? Is this going to be the hook that gets the client? Like we got to be doing that all the time. All right. So what is a common myth that you get about what you do? Because I know you do a lot of things,
Mhm.
but what do people like not get?
A lot of organization, like, nothing everything is intentional in so many ways. It's craziness. Um, that's how I like before you, I have spent like today's my day off. I'm in the salon Tuesday through Friday full time.
Mhm.
So Mondays are my off days. But before our meeting this morning, I have sent multiple emails to multiple different things. Set up a sanitation class for 250 beauty pros. Plus, I'm adding on a networking event. So talking to brands, talking to things. Plus, emailed my mentoree for my Beauty Changes Lives mentorship. Like just keeping track of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and listen, I have ADHD. You've ever had a conversation with me, right? I feel like most beauty pros are in
Mhm.
this thing. Like, know your strengths and know your weaknesses. So, me is, if it's a small detail, I might easily overlook it. So, I leave me a note to make it important, to make that small detail very important to me, because some small detail to me might be a very important detail to someone else. So just knowing my own flaws and seeing my own truth and my own honesty in myself. And like you said earlier, which is perfect, of constantly looking at how can we elevate ourselves? How can we make ourselves better?
Mhm.
Because you can't grow if you stay at the same pace. You
Yes.
can't grow if you stay at the same location. You'll never grow from that place. So,
Yes.
and that's okay if that's where you want, if you have said, I want to do pink rod perms every day for the rest of your life, girl, you be the best pink rod perm girl ever. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
thrive at it and thrive. So,
All
yeah.
right. What is your system look like? Like your organization system? Does it only make sense to you?
And I mean, it's like, I'm like looking around my office and I'm like, this looks great.
Oh, no.
This, no, it just, there's like notes everywhere and I have tons of like post-it notes and, like I try to keep as organized. Everything's like labeled and organized. That's the Virgo in me. I am
Okay.
very like, it has to be right. Yeah.
Good.
And it's but as of my phone notes, girl, like my phone notes is just, and I have to label them and be like,
Yeah.
to do today,
Yes.
Monday, this date, and like this
Yes.
is what I have to do.
Yes.
Um, but it's organized chaos in the most amazing way. So,
Okay. Okay. All right. So then how do
I,
you nourish yourself?
oof, disconnecting
Like how? Like, what does that
100%.
look like? Do you just, like, go in a room and, like, don't even talk?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel
'Cause
like
that's
that's a lot
me.
of
I
people's.
come home and I'm like,
Mhm.
TV."
There's times where my husband like is like, "Hey, how was your day?" And it's like, shh. Like, I'm like, I have entertained people all day long, right? Rather if
Mhm.
you're educating or you're traveling or you're behind the chair, right? That's our job, is to entertain.
Mhm.
Entertainment all day long. And there are times where, our buckets are overflown and
Mhm.
they're just pouring out, and we have to learn how to empty our own buckets before we can help anyone else, right?
Yeah.
And so I disconnect. There's multiple times I shut my phone on do not disturb. Like,
Nice.
I meditate every morning. I try to go out and disconnect in nature, whether if it's hiking or like I have kayaks. We live right
Oh,
by the lake, so I just like drop. We're a block away from it, so I just like
that's
drop
so
my
cool.
kayaks and yeah, just vibe out and just yeah.
That's so good. That's so
Disconnection
good.
and knowing that it's okay. That was a hard thing for me to learn, that it was okay to disconnect, because regardless if I'm in the world or disconnected from the world, it's still gonna turn.
Mhm.
Stuff's still gonna happen
Yeah.
regardless if I'm there or not. So, just to know that, yeah, that I can't help if my bucket's already over full.
I
So,
love it. I love it. I love it. What do you feel your biggest failure is, and what did you
ooh,
learn from it?
my biggest failure. Ooh, I would say not saying no when I needed to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think trying to be everything for everyone. And in a lot of ways, I kind of lost myself within the journey because I thought that I had to be there for everyone to sit at those tables and to be in those groups. And then I did everything I could to do it. And I didn't like it. I didn't like sitting
Mm,
at certain tables, and I didn't like being in
mm.
certain groups, and I didn't, and I think
Yeah.
that was like one of my biggest failure of I would wear myself down just to it didn't matter. Like, I would go all night burning the candlestick at both ends, right? And hitting red eyes and doing this and doing that. And in the end of the day, like I was like, what am I doing? Like, I
Yeah.
woke up and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And yeah, so here I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And we do it and, like, we think we're, like, going so hard and, like, nobody even, like, cares. They're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay. You're
Yeah.
dying? Alright, that's cool."
You're
You
like,
know?
it's great, but I also still need X, Y, and Z. And you're like, it's cool. I got it. It's fine. We'll figure it out. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, what's your biggest insult that you've ever gotten that you are so proud of?
Ooh. Such a good question. My biggest insult I ever got. Mm.
Doesn't even have to be big, it's
No,
just, like,
it's
your favorite, you know?
you're not who you used to be.
Whoa, what?
You're
Explain.
not who you used to be. Um,
What is that
I
context? I wanna know.
I had a client that seen me very early on in my career, like very, very, very early on. And they disappeared. I don't know if they moved or something
Mhm.
happened. And then they came back and then they're like, hey, like I want to get this, yada, yada, yada. And they were like, whoa, like your prices have went up. And I was like, I mean, it's probably been like 10 plus years at this thing.
Right.
And I was like, well, duh, right?
You're like,
Like,
yeah, mhm,
yeah, I know.
'kay.
We just pressed pause for 10 years. And so like they came in and we were talking and they're like, "Ugh, you're just not who you used to be." And I kind of was like, offended. Like, I was just like, "What?" And they're like, "Well,
Yeah.
you just, like, act different and you know, you're just, like, this whole different type of stylist and whatever, blah, 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 blah." And, like, I really sat with me, and then I thought
Mm.
about it, and I was like, "That's probably the best, like, rude thing someone could ever say to me," because
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like I said, like, it kinda hurt my feelings because us as beauty professionals, we're
Right.
people pleasers, and we want
Yep.
everyone to like us no matter how hard we say we don't, right? We still are
Mm.
trying to find our people, and then I thought about it and I was like, "You're right, I shouldn't be the same stylist I was
Mhm.
10 or 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
should not be that stylist because I'm not growing. I'm not growing regardless if it's career based or personally based or, you know, financially based. It just,
Mhm.
you know, that means I wouldn't be growing. And that's sad that you would expect me to stay the same. Like, that's sad on your
Yeah.
behalf for you to ever expect someone should not grow in whatever
Yeah.
way possible. So, that was probably the best worst compliment I think someone could ever say to me.
You're like, "Thank you.
You're like
I'm not the same?" Yeah,
you're like,
sweet.
"Yes, thank God," because I mean, and we look at it as, like, with our clients now, right? In the industry of, like, the people that believed in us before we were who we were, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've had so many most of my clients I've had for 15 to 18 years.
That is
A
so
huge chunk of my
beautiful.
clients, and I'm always like, "Thanks, Miss Ann, for believing in me," when I didn't, right? I was like, "I
Mhm.
think this is how you section off a haircut." I'm a you know, a year into the
Yeah.
beauty industry, and I was like, "I think this is how we do it properly." So,
What okay, well, did that
oh,
client who told you that, that person, did you notice if they changed? Or were
I
they
didn't
about
know.
the same?
They left, I clicked block.
No, but, like, when they when they came
Oh,
back to
I don't know,
you
I didn't have them come back.
when they came back to you and they're like, "Oh, whoa, oh, what? You know, you're so this and
I
this."
don't think so. I think they stayed in, like, the same, like their vocabulary stayed the same, their, like, mannerisms stayed the same, like,
Oh.
it was like a copy paste from, like, Back to the Future kinda thing, and I'm like,
Ooh.
"Ugh."
And you
Yeah,
felt it, you did, okay, you're like, "Ugh, this is weird." Okay, yeah, that
yeah.
was oh, man. Alright, so tell everybody about Beauty Changes Lives, because is that the same organization that Candy Shaw is always talking about?
Mhm.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, so tell everybody about that.
So it's an amazing organization. Beauty Changes Lives does everything from, scholarships for, like, beauty professionals. It does Mentorship Matters, which is where,
Mm,
um, other beauty professionals help mentor other beauty professionals, rather if you're in beauty school, fresh out of beauty school, trying to elevate your experience in this industry.
mhm,
It's an amazing experience and it happens every like season. And you just get paired up with a mentoree and you just kind of help them and you just help guide them. You have like one-on-one Zoom calls with them and just help guide them as best as possible.
that's
It's
cool.
amazing how they match you guys up. Like I love and I still stay in touch with my mentorees that I've
Mhm.
worked with in the past just to like check in on them like, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
How's life? So it's a really cool way to again give back to the industry. So definitely check it out. And then they
Right.
also do a amazing one day, one ticket, 1 million possibilities event every year. It's normally around the springtime. And it's where they have beauty professionals from all over donate one service ticket to their scholarship funds. And it's an incredible event that they get all these amazing beauty professionals
Oh,
together. Um, Again, if you haven't checked out Beauty Changers
you
Lives, go
gotta
give
do
them a
it.
follow. They're incredible. So
Yeah.
it's a really
Oh,
cool, amazing way that they can get beauty professionals, no matter how big or small, to come together. So
yeah. That and
yeah, I
totally
highly
give
suggest.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what do you tell like, what's, like, your top advice that you tell, like, the newbies coming in or just anybody in the industry?
Yeah. Kind of the same advice I was given 20 years ago still is very very important. Um, and it's a couple of different things, but it would be to treat your last client with the same love and energy that you treated your first client of the day with.
Oh.
Because, we get tired through the day, right? And people's pouring in our buckets all day long, and we might have someone that lost their husband or someone that finally is pregnant, and that's a lot of energy that gets drained through the day. And there's a lot of times by the time our last client comes in and we're like, "Oh my god, just sit down, like, let's get through this clipper cut, like, I wanna go home, I'm tired, I'm hungry," right? Like, we all have done it, like, we've
Yes.
all been to that
Yeah.
spot where we're like, "Sit down, let me tell you about my client. So my client earlier was blah, 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 blah," right? And we just, like, word
Yeah.
vomit on our client. So, like,
They're sitting there like this. Oh, okay.
yeah, and they're just like, it's their first time in their in your chair for, like, 4 weeks, and they're like, "I was just okay, well, all right." So, like,
So
treat
funny.
your last client with the same respect that
Mm.
you treat your first client with,
Yeah.
um, is one big thing. And then invest in yourself and invest in your tools. So,
Mm.
it takes time, right? But, like, the more you go into this industry, the better you take care of yourself, the more, longer more longevity you have in this industry. So
Mhm.
always invest in yourself. And I would say that, like, the back end of that is like investing in education. So
Mm.
constantly educate yourself. Take the same class multiple times because you're gonna pick up something different from it, right?
Mm.
Like, support our education to make sure that we are constantly growing as an industry, right? We're constantly talking about elevating this industry, and I think the only way to do that is, like I said it earlier, is to keep sharing knowledge with each other, right? Keep supporting each other, and for every technical class you take, making sure you're taking a business class on the back end of that,
Oh,
right?
so good. Yeah.
Right? Because we're our industry is constantly changing faster now more than ever. Um, and we are looked upon more as a professional industry. And so making sure that we have that support on the business end as well as the technical end. And they definitely go hand in hand. And that will help you grow in more ways than you will ever know.
Oh
So,
my gosh, yes. That's what I
yeah.
say all the time. Like, if you are in business, that is the ultimate form of self-care and self-discovery. Like,
Yeah.
personal growth, put a business,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and it doesn't even have to be like business classes for our industry. It
Mhm.
could be just
Right.
other, like, a commerce meeting in your area, right? Or
Yeah.
a talking class or whatever you can possibly think of that can help elevate you personally and, as a business.
Mhm. Okay,
So,
this is my favorite question that I ask everybody because I know for me, being in the industry, I have learned certain things that about people in general that I'm like, "Oh my god, everybody needs to know this," whatever it is. So, what is one lesson that you have learned working in our industry that you wish everyone and their mother needs to learn and know?
social media is fake. And
Social media is fake.
I
Yes.
mean that in the nicest way. And we hear it all the time, but it really doesn't matter how many followers you have. Um, in ways it does. Yes, 100%, right? Like, in
Mhm.
ways it definitely does. But even if you have a million followers, they had to start at one at some point in their career, right? They literally everyone starts at the same playing field. It just where do you put your attention and what
Mhm.
is the most important to you, right?
Mhm.
Um, so for people to remember that everyone has a first day. Everyone has only starts with one follower. Everyone starts somewhere. Um, so don't give up on yourself. I would say that would be my thing.
Yeah. Aw. What do you wanna be remembered for?
Um,
Boom, big question.
I know. I was like, woo, okay,
Was
let's do
like,
this.
wow.
Wow. That question though, I think, um, hopefully making an impact. Like
Oh.
the fact that like, and I've had a couple kids come up to me like and was like, I don't know if you remember, but you came and spoke to my school, or like I met you at like one of these hair shows, and like you took the time to talk to me, and you took the
Mhm.
time to listen to me, and you took the time to, like actually support me. One big
Yeah,
thing I talk about all the time is like babes support babes. You hear me say it all the time. It's almost annoying how much I say it,
yeah.
but I really do. Is like, I really want to authentically support people, like,
Mm,
because I feel like that's what we need is more
yeah.
authentic support for each other.
Mhm.
So I think that's what I want to be remembered by is just helping,
Being
hopefully
real.
making a difference
Yeah.
in someone's life somehow.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Okay, tell everybody about Free Your Mind education, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, we talked about Beauty Changes Life, which is great, but like you're the founder of Free Your Mind education. So let's talk about it.
yeah. So it came up actually while I was still teaching with another brand. So I
Okay.
worked as an international educator with a company. There was only 10 of us spread out across the world. And
Oh, cool.
taught everywhere. I got to spend like a month in Australia. Like it was like super cool.
Very
But I
cool.
also worked as the brand specialist for that company. So on top of teaching all of our advanced classes, and teaching what we call like our AAA salons, so like our multi-million dollar salons.
Mhm.
Um, I was also in charge of product launching throughout North America and Canada. I did all of our meetings for like our um, distribution centers. So I trained our DSCs. I did like you name it, girl, I did all of it.
I love it.
Um,
I love it.
well, I don't say all of it, right? It wasn't, there was a huge team of us, but
Mhm.
I did a lot more than just education. And um, there was a lot of I don't want to say misunderstanding. There's a lot of disconnect between big brands
Mm.
with education that they're providing and education that salon and beauty professionals actually need and
Yeah.
want,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yes.
think you'll see, I have already seen like the shift in the industry over the last 5 years, right?
Mhm.
Of
Mhm.
more and more people coming out with like their own independent education, because I think that's the next step. The only thing I will say to people is be careful who you get advice from,
Mhm.
because not
Mhm.
everybody is giving good advice.
Yeah. That is
And
so
I know
true.
that sounds so crazy, but like taking advice from someone that isn't where you are, isn't where you want to be, isn't, what your next steps are, or even where your 10th step is,
Mhm.
can actually hurt you more than anything.
Mhm.
Um, but I seen this big disconnect between big brands, what they were delivering and what salons needed. And so that's why like I stepped away from teaching actually. I walked away from it, and I knew my heart was already in education. I loved it. I wanted to be an educator, um and so I started Free Your Mind Education, and it was just unbranded education, delivering, fundamentals and delivering actual support that any salon can use, right?
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm against big brands. We definitely still need big brands in our industry. We're still going to use products, and we're still going to utilize, tools and equipment and everything that we need to do our job properly, 100%. But I think people don't want to be sold on anything anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They don't want to spend $500 to go to a class, and then a balayage class, for instance, and
Mhm.
75% of the class is talking about how their brand's better than anyone else. You learn 10 minutes of technique, and then the last 30 minutes is like,
Yeah.
now you have to spend another $500 on this kit to even be able to do this, and you're like,
Mhm.
we don't want to be sold anymore. We just
Yeah.
So, like, that's why I started Free Your Mind Education, is just to deliver unbranded education that everyone can use. Excuse me, everyone can use,
Mhm.
um, no matter what brands they carry, or
Oh, I love
you
that.
know,
I
yeah,
love that. Yeah, just like and I do see that even with my own team, like they just want to know the techniques. I see this with a lot of estheticians too. Like
hmm,
they just want to know the facts.
yeah,
Like I don't
yeah,
want to spend unnecessary money if I don't have to. I just need to know the skill set so I can
yep,
do the service.
yep,
And I'm all about it. I'm like, you're right. Let's do it. Let's
yeah,
find the information. And so I love that you caught on to that and you do it, you know?
yeah.
That's great. So what we got like 15 minutes left. What do you what's a question you wish that I would have asked you and how would you have answered?
Oh my gosh, that's so good. What is my question?
It could be anything,
Man.
by the way. Personal,
Ooh, okay.
professional, anything.
Um, what would I change about the beauty industry
Ooh,
is a good question. Um, and how I would change that, how I would answer it, I guess, how I would change the beauty industry is to expect the unexpected,
mm,
um, because the industry is constantly changing. As an independent beauty pro, I've been independent for 15 years before there was actually really any support or help prior to, right? And
mhm,
luckily I managed for years and years and years. So I kind of knew a little bit of running a business, but a lot of stuff I had to find along the way. And
mm,
I think there's this crazy stigma about independent beauty pros. And as individual beauty pros, yeah, we are only one esthetician or one nail tech or one hairstylist or one barber, right? We're only as one. But as a community, we are huge, right? And I think
mhm,
there, rather if it's a big brand forgets that, or like different kinds of companies forget that, of we might be independents, but as a whole we are a very huge community, and to not discount us for that, because
ooh,
we are the next step to this industry. And I
100, yeah.
think corporate salons and huge floor open floor plan salons will always be a huge value in this industry, but our industry is growing, and to be accepting of that, even if it's not beneficial to them,
Mhm.
and to not forget about us.
How do you feel about, like those salons, the hybrid
Mhm,
salons that
mhm.
they have their independents there, they got their employees, they have their hourly people, like, everybody's just kind of hanging out together, doing their thing, creating all day long.
I love that. I love that if that's your environment. I think we get so caught up with, like, well, this works for me, so like this has to be the right answer. And I think none of us have the answer for each other. I
Oh, I
think
love that. Oh,
do
I just love that.
yes.
Yes.
I you know,
That's
do
great.
what works for you, and do what works
Yeah.
for your business. If that's in a closed off suite, if that's in an open floor plan, if that's in a hybrid concert or concept, if
Mhm.
that is working for a corporate chain salon, right? Like,
Mhm.
and getting a commission based pay. If that's what works best for you, I love that. Thrive, do your best. I'm supporting you, right? Babe,
Yeah.
again, babe supporting babes.
Babes. Yes, totally.
Babes. So, like, just, I love that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I do agree. Like the independents, like they are you guys are like it's such a huge part of the industry and it does boggle my mind and it has for quite some time how they you guys get like oh you're independent oh let me just scoot over here and it's so crazy and for anybody listening to this episode if you missed the beginning of this episode go listen to it because Kimberly has done amazing things as an
Yeah.
independent like
Yeah.
fear, I think, has a big part in holding us, like, hostage into
Yeah.
not growing.
Yeah, and that's why, like my business classes are 100% unbranded, but they're also formulated to support the independent beauty pro,
Mm,
right? Building your own brand. So
mm,
we help build your brand, understand who you are
yeah,
and what your target client is.
love that.
Then, leveling up the client experience to retain those clients and stay booked and get the reviews. And then understanding your expenses. That is a huge thing that, like,
So big.
listen, there's a lot of big salons that don't understand their expenses.
Yeah.
And the one thing I always say is, like, you should know how much it costs you to open your doors every day. And if you don't, that's a huge problem. And so
Yeah.
that's why I formulated my classes again around unbranding. So it doesn't matter if you're a big salon or an independent salon, right? So it's
Mhm.
crazy. I run the education for all of our solas in Columbus North. We have 6 locations, and that's 215 beauty pros.
Wow.
Like, to think about it, yes, we are all independent beauty pros, but as one, that's a
Yeah.
huge salon. That's bigger than most corporate salons at
Yeah.
215 beauty pros. So, like,
Whoa.
don't think don't think that we're not valuable, because we are valuable.
Totally.
Yeah.
Don't think small. Okay, so
Yeah.
how can people get more involved with For Your Mind education, and what do you have going on that they can be a part of or sign up or whatever?
Coming up, yeah. So, I mean, obviously follow us on social media. Shout out to Kimberly Loomis, and then at For Your Mind Education on Instagram. And then you can always reach out to us to book classes. Our education calendar is, like, kind of full for most of this year, but we're already booking stuff into next year for
Nice.
shows and stuff. I will
Nice.
say, um, immediate would be we will be at the Premier Columbus show, with Premier Beauty. It's a huge show. It's a 2-day hair show located in Columbus, Ohio. So For Your Mind Education will be there, showing up and showing some love. Um, but yeah, reach out if you guys are interested in getting connected with us and just helping support you, your salon, and your team.
I love that. I love that. Thanks for hanging out with me and us
Thanks for being
today.
amazing. Thanks, everyone.
Oh my gosh. So if you are interested in connecting more with Kim, all of her links are going to be in the show notes on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So make sure you do that. Go follow her right now. You will not regret it. And yeah, I will talk to all of you guys very soon. Thank you again, Kim, for being here.
Thank you, guys.
If you loved this episode, subscribe to the Beauty Pro podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave your reviews, stars, feedback so I can continue bring the content you deserve and want most. Your feedback fuels this podcast. The more you give, the more you get back. You can follow me at The Beauty Pro Coach on Instagram and Facebook. Want to contact me directly? Email me at befree@goldentruthcoaching.com.